Y'all know who it is. Young Xenoblade, he who stands above all else. Metro Meta, and I am here with.
At Flow My Hero, aka Flow, aka Call Me What You Want, just don't call me lazy. And it has been a big week for us in just gaming, so I'm gonna just kick it off with you. Meta, what are you playing right now?
So, still playing Xenoblade. I ordered a Pro controller just because my Switch is starting to drift and I don't feel like dealing with it.
How much was it?
It was only like 80.
You should have gone to GameStop.
That's who I ordered it through.
You went to the store and you had to order it?
Yeah, they're out.
Oh, okay.
Animal Crossing and all that. So yeah, and then we bought Marvel's Avengers. I played a little bit of that. Always down for some Kamala Khan. What about you?
So right now I am actually I'm working through Ghost of Tsushima right now. It's not my favorite, but it's there, so I'm working through it. Marvel, the Avengers game. I'm playing that. I bought NBA 2K21.
He's part of the problem, by the way.
That kind of feels like an unfinished game.
But, snap!
But
You're telling me 21's unfinished?
And I just feel like there should have
crazy.
been. I don't want to give a free game, but I feel like NBA 2K21 should have been delayed a little bit longer so that we could have an actual bubble mode and your stats could change in the bubble and your season and as your my player, your season could be based about when you get to this certain point, you go into the bubble and your whole lifestyle changes, and that could have even been a community thing where when you get to a certain point in your my player career, you have the opportunity to go to either the neighborhood or the bubble, and in the bubble the prizes are worth more, you get more VC, your network is better, the competition is better there. That's where the best of the best are playing. That's where the NBA players are playing. That's where the NBA 2K players are playing, and I feel like that's an opportunity that they really missed out on. But if you do take that, I do want my credit, 2K, if you are listening. So please, don't steal it all from me.
They don't have time to develop that. They're already making 2K 2021.
See, they already made 21, so they be on 22. So maybe it could be on 22. But we will see. And
2K22 is going to be the exact same game. Mark my words.
Kick it off.
All right, so let's get started. Super Mario All-Star 3D. Now, this has a bit of a kerfluffle up on the internets. Y'all know how I'd be talking out here. So, to start it off, 30th anniversary of Mario. So, Nintendo announced a whole slew of different things. You got Super Mario Battle Royale. You have, they announced a new Game & Watch, which is flying off shelves probably.
Right.
And they announced a Super Mario 3D All-Star collection with Super Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy, but not Galaxy 2, which I assume they're already porting over, which basically leaves the amount of good games on the Nintendo Wii to Xenoblade X and Super Mario Galaxy 2.
How do you feel about the limited release? Like, it's only from September to March. How do you feel about that?
So there's a lot of takes on this. A lot of people are saying it's anti-consumer and that they hate it. Blah 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 blah. Gamers arguing, gamers hating stuff. For me, honestly, I think the way Nintendo is playing this is they are trying to make stock, like you got to get it now. But I think Nintendo's such a weird company in that they care about profit, but they also don't tend to care about profit. Like, Nintendo, again, made the Wii U and sticked with it for, several years. And they have continued to make underpowered consoles when they could just, pay AMD to just make them a powerful console. So, at the end of the day, I feel like you can't really think about it in terms of monetary value for Nintendo, at least. Because I feel like Nintendo was 30th anniversary. Let's make something special. And then they just decided to cut it off after that so that they'll probably resell it later. I mean, honestly, best case scenario, if I'm Nintendo looking at the best case scenario, you hold on for 6 months and then you have the special edition. Right. After 6 months, it goes away and they just put those games on the eShop for like a different price.
Right.
Which they'll probably put up for $60 because it's Nintendo. But it'll just be like, oh, this is the special event. You get these 3 games for $60 at this time. And if you didn't get it, that sucks. And for Nintendo, I don't like, people hate on Nintendo for doing stuff like this, but at the end of the day, I'll pay $60 for a Nintendo game because I know it's going to be quality.
And one of the things I feel like with it being Mario's 35th anniversary, they're trying to also make it special. Like, hey, we're going to put this out for a limited amount of time, so don't waste your time and think it's going to be here forever. Because I even think Nintendo has a chance to be like, yo, once it's gone, it's gone. We're putting it in the vault and you'll never be able to get it. At least for another 30 years. Like, that's just how we're moving right now. And we're moving forward. We're creating more content for you. And this is just a special thank you for all your support of the Mario, of the basically the staple of the Nintendo world. And this is our thanks to you.
I mean, when you think about it, Nintendo very much lives off in nostalgia. And of course, there's people who are like, oh, well, now you just steal it on PC. Now you just download it on PC. But I've never been a fan of those things. Just in general, I've just never really enjoyed that practice. I feel like you get it, you don't. Like, for me, that's not something that I have my own qualms with it. But when I think about this specifically, and I'm not much of a Mario fan, so it doesn't really affect me as much. But I know eventually Nintendo is going to try to resell these games for me. So if I want to play it, eventually I can play it. And I think this is also partially because Nintendo has had, at least they were going to have, a light year until like this week when they decided really to drop a bunch of stuff.
And I feel like they are still they're still showing that, hey, we don't have to have a next generation system yet. Our system is still the best console out of Xbox, PlayStation, and Twitch. And we were even still selling back in March. Nintendo came back and say, yo, it was a recession for y'all. It wasn't no drought for us. I mean, our price went up during the recession. The bag was tripled during the recession. I can't relate to that. Yeah, y'all was selling games. We was moving systems. Well, I cannot relate. We got different problems.
Well, like the Nintendo Switch is, despite how the industry treats it, Nintendo Switch is the second console. It's the second, like, it's outsold Xbox.
Hasn't it outsold PlayStation 2?
No. PlayStation 4 is way ahead of anybody. But it's outsold Xbox. And if you look at the Japanese like charts, like the weekly charts of what systems are selling, you look at what Xbox is selling, it is hilarious. They will be selling like 100 to 35 systems in like a 2-week period while the 3DS is still outselling them. It's freaking hilarious. And so Nintendo, with Animal Crossing alone, they pretty much can coast.
Right.
And
do you think Animal Crossing is dead?
No, it's still selling. That's why I couldn't get my Switch Pro controller. Was because all the people buying Animal Crossing kept doing it. Animal Crossing is a game where if it's in the mainstream, it's big. Its community doesn't leave it. There's a grandmother who's been she racked up like 800 hours on that game on the 3DS alone. And her unveiling her island was a big event in that community. It is not dead. You can tell from the people who constantly talk about Switch. You can tell from the updates, and you can tell from the fact that it's still selling gangbusters. Like, at the end of this year, Animal Crossing very much might be one of the best-selling games on the Switch. It might even outsell Super Mario Odyssey. Or, at best, it might be touching Breath of the Wild or even Pokemon Sword and Shield. And so now you're looking at Nintendo's lineup. You got Hyrule Warriors, which is we'll talk about later. You got Mario, and then you have Pokemon. And that's their big three.
And Pokemon is what is it? Thundra?
Crown of Tundra.
Crown of Tundra drops October 23rd.
I don't know if that's right. I don't think they've announced it yet. But
I think that's right.
That's big.
So
it's major.
So no, they're really trying to own this last quarter of the year.
And they have Pikmin
without a new system. Like, yo.
Without a new system and without a new game, which is quite frankly amazing.
Right.
Like, that's no new content, and they still might be at the top of the game. And there's rumors now that's saying they might have, like, a pro system on the way, and that's why they're having such a light year this year. And, like, yeah, they might give up, like, oh, yeah, Microsoft, Sony is selling off their new next-gen, woohoo. And then we come into, like, 2021, 2022, Nintendo drops Switch Pro, Breath of the Wild 2, and then Bayonetta's still on the cards. No More Hero just got delayed, so that will come around the same time. And I'm looking, Xbox might get bodied again next gen. Like,
and it's crazy because if Nintendo ever drops like a Switch 2, like that's gonna do numbers easily. Mm-hmm. Just like even so, they're already. I feel like Nintendo's already ahead of Xbox when it comes to next gen systems if they ever decide to drop one.
And the thing is, when next gen systems come out, and Xbox is doing this big push towards online and specifically streaming based content, if they can figure that out, especially in places like America where the internet is awful, that's going to be hard. But you think about, okay, right now they have it on smartphones, tablets and stuff, not on Apple, so they're going to need more devices. You have PC, you got the Xbox, you have Android. They're going to want more devices. Oh, here's the mobile platform of Switch.
Right.
And you can already see the seeds sowing where Xbox is going to be like, why don't we put xCloud on the Nintendo Switch that comes with built-in controllers?
Right.
Like, perfect. Not to mention, it's already a close control scheme. It's perfect for them.
Right. So you talked about it earlier. Hyrule Warriors is coming out. What date is that? I think November.
Let me see.
Hyrule Warriors is coming out, I believe,
November 20th.
November 20th. So last year it was Pokemon. This year it's Hyrule Warriors. So, and I watched that. I watched the video of it, just like, and how they really worked with the Zelda team to build out this universe, and that was what was really impressive to me.
So this is, I don't know if you're familiar with this series. It's a Mushu game, and they're very famous for making the, whatchamacallit, Dynasty Warriors. And they also made Persona 5 Striker, which is, I'm excited for Persona 5 Striker. So Mushu games are sort of hit and miss. It depends. But they're actually, when it comes to like licensed games, they tend to put in a lot of effort. And so this is going to be interesting to see how well it does. This is the second Hyrule Warriors game, so of course they have some experience with this. I am interested because I did play a lot of Breath of the Wild, so I do know a little bit of the backstory that they're touching on here. And so I'm interested to see how they explain this point in time, which is honestly some of the deepest story in Breath of the Wild. And moving into Breath of the Wild 2, I definitely feel like this could sow some seeds to have a more interactive and interesting story in that game.
Right, no. Well, right, for sure. For sure.
Marcus is out here watching India.
So yeah, no. Will you be getting this?
Maybe.
I feel like I'm not getting it because that's just around the PS5, and I would much rather have that than Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah, I might pick it up later.
Yeah, no, that's definitely on the wish list, but it's
January not, game.
Yeah, it's definitely on the wish list, but it's not an immediate purchase. All right, check what's next.
Let's see.
Oh, so companies are betting big on gaming. So what basically companies like Bloomberg are betting big on gaming just because in the midst of a pandemic, gaming was still the ruler. And with sports not happening, with even there's a standstill with politics and even social issues. Well, let's take it back from the social issues. But there just wasn't a lot going on, but gaming continued. And this is from CNN. It says, the gaming industry is soaring thanks in part to a pandemic that has many people marooned at home with limited forms of entertainment. Nintendo made $1.3 billion in operating profit in the quarter ending in June. but the video game industry has long been a multi-billion-dollar business. Gaming journalism has long been dominated by more niche publications for over a decade. Outlets like Kotaku, IGN, and Destructoid have published commentary, reviews, and investigative work focused on the games in the gaming industry. However, it is changing with consumers taking an interest in video games like never before. Major outlets are finally investing in gaming journalism that speaks to a wider audience. So I feel like this could be either a plus, either a huge positive or a huge negative, just because, of course, when it comes to gaming, it's very niche. It's very, no, I don't want to call it cliche, but
I wouldn't say gaming is the biggest entertainment on the planet, even before.
But okay, but gaming journalism is very niche. Like, let's make that clear. Like, you say gaming is the biggest entertainment in the world. Okay, like gaming and wrestling are very niche audiences, and there's certain websites to go to that audience. And with gaming journalism getting bigger platforms, one of the main things that I'm concerned about is what's concerning in normal journalism, which is a lack of diversity, a lack of different voices, money in your journalism. So when gaming companies are basically paying for PR, or they're paying for podcast placements, or they're paying for positive reviews, and that already kind of happens on a lower level. But when you have a network as big as like Bloomberg or CNN, or even like MSNBC doing stuff like that, that's where my worry gets in. And we're seeing that effect now when it just comes to everyday life and everyday politics, which is quite frankly why we are in the why we're basically stuck inside right now, because of a lack of diverse voices. Like, for example, if we go back 4 years and they're like, yo, listen to black women, and people's political teams was mostly made up of Caucasian men and Ivy League. No, I don't want to call them Ivy League, but just like white people. It's like, okay, and they're like, oh, it could be a cool 4 years, but now look at us, stuck inside, the earth on fire. So it's just like, my biggest concern would be that happening in the gaming industry, because we already see it with the games itself, with trans characters and black characters, and the pushback on that. And it's just like, those types of characters are finally getting their shine in games, and you're pushing back on that. And so I don't want the gaming industry to go in reverse. And another thing, this is going to bring about the truly ugly side of gaming when it comes to just like racism and misogyny, and even like the bring out. It's always there. No, it's always there, but it's going to amplify it. Here? And even what's the thing when they work a lot? What's it called?
Crunch.
Yes, and even like the crunches, and that's gonna be amplified. So,
but here's the thing when it comes to gaming media. Gaming media is already massive. It's one of the biggest forms of media on YouTube. Is gaming media. There are tons of channels already. Let me speak my piece.
Go.
There are tons of channels already dedicated to covering and doing games media. And so, even just besides the big ones, and a lot of those channels are a lot of them are already white, but a lot of them are those old people who fight against it. You have somebody like the Jimquisition, who is somebody of, I know he's been in transition when it comes to his gender so lately, so I won't talk about that right now, but he is someone of the LGBTQ community. And he fights vehemently, and he has a big, major, and pretty important voice in the gaming industry as a whole. And so you talk about these different things. Like, there's already gamers now don't trust most games media. They really don't. They really don't trust them. They already think that IGN's paid off, everybody else is paid off in their opinion, and they really only listen to small creators. And so you see the different voices they pick up. Like Bloomberg, for their gaming side, they headhunted Jason Schreier from Kotaku. Jason Schreier is one of the biggest games journalists of the past few years, just because he was the one who broke the story on why Anthem was bad, and on the level of crunch that was happening in Naughty Dog and in Rockstar. And so you're seeing that those sort of creators are the ones that a lot of these websites are picking up, and they're amplifying a lot of those voices, which is why we're hearing about all this bad stuff that's happening at like Ubisoft and at CD Projekt Red. And so just in general, all those people and events, like more money in the games industry, especially in games media, probably won't change it a lot, just because a lot of the efforts that they've done to get into games media haven't been as successful. You have things like Vin on like Twitter or whatever, but really it's the like nose to the floor journalists, the like trusted YouTubers that most people listen to.
Right, but what's the color of most of those trusted YouTubers?
They're still white.
Exactly. So, and they still have that same, I don't want to say the same point of view, but they don't have, like, let's say we have a gaming channel. Our point of view is going to be different than their point of view because we've had different life experiences and we've had to experience life from a different point of view. If you have two white YouTubers, their similarities are going to be more common than not. And so that's my biggest issue when it comes to gaining more traction and more notoriety on these platforms.
But there are, I'm not to say a lot, but there is quite a few people of color in the gaming industry, and they're becoming bigger. And you have people like Pierce, right, and you have people like Bless from Kind of Funny,
right,
who are really putting work and who do have connections in there.
I completely agree.
And you have people like Inside Gaming, where during the Black Lives Matter, they reached out to as many black creators as they could, and they gave them a platform. They said, "Come on our platform. You're going to help us do the dailies, and then at the end, you get to talk about whatever you want to talk about." And a lot of those creators really helped them and gave them a lot more exposure. And after that, they continue to add them on. You know, they had a lot of great people, and they found like there's a lot of diverse black voices in the gaming community, especially. And so it's just a matter of just utilizing them because they have the talent and they're in the right locations.
Right. No, for sure. But next, let's just move on. So in other news, Colin Kaepernick is making his way back to the football field, but not in that way. Colin Kaepernick will be a part of Madden 21, and I will say it is a complete insult just because 2 years ago they edited his name out of a song. And he was just mentioned in a song, and they edited it out. Then they put it back in. And so for them to do a complete turnaround and say, yo, he's one of the highest rated QBs, but he's not on the team. And it's just like, yo, this is not only an insult to him, it's an insult. It's basically like a olive branch. It's like, yo, here, Black Lives Matter. Here's Colin Kaepernick. Y'all enjoy that. And so one thing I will say that I guess it's good that Colin Kaepernick is in the game. However, it's not good that he's not actually in the game. Like, it's still, I know he's bigger than football. His impact has been bigger than football. And it's quite a travesty that he is not on the field right now because I cannot think of 16 other quarterbacks who are better than Colin Kaepernick right now. So, this man does deserve to be on the team. I will say EA Sports kind of did the right thing, but it's also very much an insult. Do you have any thoughts?
Madden still sucks.
But about the Colin Kaepernick.
Madden still sucks.
About Colin Kaepernick.
He's in a sucky game.
So what are your thoughts about Colin Kaepernick being in the game, but necessarily not being on the team in real life? And do you feel like that's an insult, or do you feel like it's just like, here?
It's a real shame that they put him in such a bad game.
Okay. But also, did you see 2K actually, I meant to put that in here. 2K acquired the rights to make a football simulation game.
They're not going to do it.
So, no, it won't be Madden, but maybe it could be like an NFL Street.
It won't work.
I think because NFL
Here's the problem. Like, we don't follow it as much, but if you like football, the biggest football game is FIFA. And FIFA has access to all the clubs and all the teams. all the clubs and all the teams have all the access to the best players. I think it's Konami makes PGA, where they have their own game. It's still a soccer game, but it doesn't have access to the clubs and the teams. Nobody wants to play that game. Why? Because they want to be playing as the cool ones. If I'm playing a basketball game, I want to be playing LeBron James. I don't want to be playing your unnamed character.
See, but I think it could be like an NFL Street where NFL players were still there.
No, NFL owns those players.
See, the NFL, but I don't know quite exactly how the licensing deal works.
The licensing deal works in that if 2K wrote it, which they probably did, they own access to the teams and the players, and they have that.
It could also be college.
I mean, it could be college, but again,
yeah.
If you're a mainstream fan, you want to be playing as the cool teams. You want to be playing as the real teams.
Okay.
That's the reason why so many sports games have been so trash these past few years, is that a few companies have access to all the licenses and they don't really have to try anymore.
Right.
Because like, if you like basketball and not video games, you just want to play basketball games on your team.
Right. And
so you don't care.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Next up, the Xbox quote unquote leak.
It did leak.
Leak. I say that in quotations because it randomly leaked, and then 2 hours later the price showed up, and then Xbox made the official announcement about it.
Yeah, that happens all the time in games industry.
But I will say that the Xbox just looks like a big Bluetooth speaker. I will not put my hands on it.
Let's put it. It's not the Xbox. It's the Xbox S?
Series X.
Series
S and Series X.
Yeah. So the S leaked, and then Xbox leaked. Yeah, which we've known about the S for months. It was one of the worst kept secrets. Like, we've known the hardware details of this console for months. They just haven't released it.
So, one thing I will say, how did you look at it? What were your thoughts about it?
It's small, which is what they were going for. The point is, again, going back to their market is, it's $299. About $300, around the same price as a Switch. Their market is for people who don't exactly like games. It's mainly for people, especially like you, Marcus, who mainly play sports games. So you'll go there. That's a $300 console. And they have it on layaway. So you can buy your $300.
They don't have it on layaway. It's a payment plan.
Yeah.
And so, how do you feel about the payment plan? Do you like that? Do you not like that?
It's good for people who don't have the money right now.
And I feel like if you come up there with like, here's $100, and you can pay it off over time, and it's just like, you could be done paying it by, if you buy it in November, you could be done paying it by like January, February.
Well, it's a 2-year contract, and it's a 2-year contract that comes with Xbox Game Pass. So you come in, you pay like $24, you come out with a console and a whole bunch of games, along with EA access now. And so it's a great deal.
You're basically paying. It's basically like a phone.
It's a phone bill.
It's a phone type of situation when it comes to Xbox. But yes, EA Pass will be all access. So you'll have access to Madden and all that. I'm not really a big fan of Madden like that, but I do get the appeal. What about you?
It's a great price value. There have been some reports that it might not be able to play certain games on Xbox Game Pass, but you know, it's a great, if you're getting into gaming, it's a great way to get your hands on some really nice gaming tech without having to break your bank.
Right. Next up, Ubi Forward.
I only wanted to talk about this because they announced two things. They announced that three things. One, they announced the new name for Gods and Monsters, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. I don't like it. It is, well, they started with addressing their internal issues. And they did add their hashtag into that. I mean, they're not going to get forgiven for it. Absolutely not, under any circumstance, by anybody in the games industry. Another reason why they always get dragged. But they announced a Prince of Persia remake. It's looking kind of rough. Not gonna lie, but it might be fun. So let's go. What is this? DualShockers. This is why. This is why. All right, but so I didn't get to watch it, but I saw some things. The biggest announcement for me was they announced that Scott Pilgrim versus the World, that video game, which I hear is really amazing, is coming back. For those guys who don't know, it was delisted a few years ago, and so it's impossible to get. There's like Xbox 360s on the market whose only selling point is that they have a copy of Scott versus the World. And so that was big. They announced the new Gods and Monsters title, Phoenix Rising. It's looking pretty Breath of the Wild. I'm excited for that. And they announced that some DLC for Watch Dogs Legion. You're gonna get to play as Alan Pierce. I'm not that excited. I never found him a very good or interesting character. From what he's just moody is my whole thing. Moody white guy. I don't want to play his rip-off Batman. I'd much rather prefer they put Watch Dogs 2 protagonist Marcus in there.
Right.
He was fun and exciting. I liked Watch Dogs 2. That was a pretty good game.
Right.
Other than that, I'm excited for Scott Pilgrim. I've been excited for Watch Dogs. I'm literally just waiting for it. That's the only reason why I care about Ubisoft right now, like Scott and Watch Dogs.
Right.
Once I get that, I'll just probably hold off on buying their games till Good and Evil 2 comes out, Beyond Good and Evil 2, whenever that comes out, which is like, they're now calling it, not AAA, 4A. It's like one more A. So that's the budget of that game. Tells you when that's coming out.
Right. And last but not least, so with the death of Mixer, and it is the death of Mixer. Well, I wouldn't consider it a death. I wouldn't consider it a death, but it just transferred over to Facebook Gaming.
It's dead.
Right. I don't think Facebook Gaming is dead though.
Facebook Gaming is not dead, but the people who are on Mixer, who made Mixer, went to Twitch.
Right. And so it's looking like the biggest fish in the pond is coming back to Twitch. Ninja is back for Chapter 2 on Twitch. They said this in a post. And how do you feel about it? So I feel like
I don't care. Look.
Okay.
This is what I'm feeling about this.
Okay.
I'm tired of it. I don't care about Ninja. I really don't. I don't know why we keep talking about him. He got a bunch of money and now he's just going back to Twitch to get more money. I'm tired of covering white kids being rich.
Do you think that his gaming powers have slightly not decreased? That's the wrong word. I'll say decreased over the past couple of years, just because with his garnered wealth and fame, and especially when he didn't get into the Fortnite championship, when he failed to qualify for that. Do you feel that his focus isn't on gaming anymore?
No, I think it's a matter of things. One, of course, he has a job, and that's a bit harder. I know he started out in esports, but like most of those guys top out like mid-20s.
And I feel like when it just comes to Ninja, his brand is bigger than I feel like, do you think his brand is bigger than Twitch? Or do you think he needs Twitch? Or do you think he's at the point in his career where he could just start his own, I don't want to start his own Twitch, but have his own stream on like the Ninja site? Do you think he has the type of power to be like, yo, I'm not on Twitch, I'm not on YouTube Gaming, I'm not on Facebook Gaming, I'm not on Caffeine. Here I am on Ninja.com. You click to link and you see me stream, and we are personal one-on-one. This is just me. This is my site, and you pay directly to me. You see me play. You see me compete.
No, just because we saw that, like, that was what Mixer was betting on. They were betting that he was so big that so many people would come over.
See, and
I feel like if you're talking about him, he has the money and enough of a platform that he could technically build his own site and play on that site, and he could definitely have a small amount of creators, small amount of people be on that site, and it would be moderately successful if it would grow, but he would need a way of marketing, and it would take a lot of his funds.
Right. So do you have anything to add?
We're not covering Ninja anymore.
All right, close it out.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for being around and listening to our podcast. This has been a pretty big month. Like, last month was probably our biggest ever. So we like to just give a shout out to everybody. Subscribe, follow us on social media at 26 and Glenn. And make sure you follow Marcus at Flows My Hero and me at Metro Meta 26. And just leave a comment, leave a review, tell us what's popping. All right, and we'll see you. All right, everybody, y'all know who it is, Metro Meta and
At One Marcus Flowers.
And we'd like to thank you for watching and listening to our content. We'd like to thank you even more if you leave a like, a comment,
Subscribe, definitely subscribe. We need that. Subscribe, subscription.
and don't forget to share with all your friends and tell us how you feel.
And tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that you got it from 26 and Glencoe Media Network.
Keep it real.